Hello everybody and welcome back to Amity Bloom. My name is Nazi and today I'm going to be sharing with you a really fun and easy quick tutorial to show you how I create my paper borders. Now this is something that I include in my journals every so often in a very simple form, typically just two papers collaged together and on the edges of my pages. However, for the journals that I'm currently working on, I wanted to create something different and I came up with this. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this fun and really easy tutorial. The tools that you will need is basically paper and glue, and that's pretty much it, which is the awesome part. It's an amazing way of recycling the scraps because we all have scraps that are left over when we're doing paper crafting projects or when you're creating a journal or when you're decorating in your journal. We always are left with little tiny scraps of paper that you sometimes don't know what to do with. And there's only so many different ways that you can use them, but I thought that this would be really fun because you can create just a ton of them one afternoon, sit down, and you can create about 15 to 20 different types. These are actually the paper borders that I created for the current journals that I'm working on. As you can see, I created a lot because I'm creating about 6 different journals. So I wanted to experiment and see how the paper borders look in a smaller size and in a larger size. These are scraps of paper that I have left over from creating my journals. Do not throw them away. Pretty much all of this is basically stuff that couldn't be thrown away because you can't really create that much with it. But scraps are kind of like your secret weapon in creating journals or creating anything with paper crafts, in my opinion, because they're the perfect tool to use for collaging. So I zoomed you guys in a little bit just so that you can see the different types of paper borders that I created for my current journals. Some of them are a little smaller, some of them are a little larger. You can definitely experiment on sizing depending on what you're going to be using your paper borders for, if it's for a TN, if it's for a journal, and depending the size. So I have 4 more that I need to create. So I thought it would be fun to show you how I create them. I'm currently in the middle of creating these journals and I thought it would be so fun to just turn the camera on and show you how I make them as I'm creating them in the process. So these are the 4 little strips that I have decided they're pretty much the same size as these smaller ones. This is my paper base. As you can see, it's just a strip of paper. Just measure out how much you want. I would suggest no less than 1 inch, just because then it becomes too thin and it won't be durable enough to hold the little scraps of paper that you will collage on top. So cut about 1 inch strip of paper, and this I believe is about 4 to 5 inches. And now it's the fun part. Now is when you can go into your scrap stash and choose the papers that make you happy. So I definitely want to use some of this really pretty paper. And all I do is I take my scrap, I take my scissors, and I just cut. I try to keep them all within the same size, just so that they are all relatively the same. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking these really cute craft border scissors. They are typically created for kids crafts, which is why I like the intense bright neon colors, but I adore them for creating little scalloped edges on paper. This is completely optional. I personally like to because it adds a different type of line design to our paper border, and that gives our paper border more dimension. I'm now going to be using some of this scrap, and I really like it because of the little lines. It's giving it a different design. As you can see, this is more geometric. This is a really pretty romantic geometric design, and then this one is just a line. So hopefully you can see that on camera. It's like little lines and polka dots. It looks like vintage writing paper that you would use in school. So I've placed them in different places, like I said, just to have each one a little bit different. And now I have some music paper, which of course I need to include some music paper. If you notice, the pattern that I am following is I'm just varying the designs and the styles of paper. That is what I find gives you a really nice result. And the reason that I'm trimming off the excess is because I like to keep one of my papers, typically the biggest one, so that little scrap, the scalloped one, as a reference point. So I know I can't go any bigger than that. Just because overall, if you see, for example, this one that I created, most of them are the same size. This was my reference point. Just because it can get a little overbearing and a little bit too much if you cover up your little border paper with a ton of big scraps. You want a variety of papers, so a little bit smaller, some middle-sized, and some larger sized. So now I'm moving on to this paper scrap, and I want to use this because it's a slightly darker tone than the papers that we've been using. This is very purple, and I want to incorporate a darker paper. But if you're creating this as Happy Mail for someone, and you know their favorite colors, then stick to using those. I've cut my little squares, but I'm realizing that if I include them on here, they look really beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I want to have some more texture. And if you take a look at this little scrap, this is some embossed paper. This is what I use to create these border paper strips that I have on the side, and I really like how the embossed paper gives it a really nice textured effect. So I'm actually going to take my little scraps and I'm going to pass them through my embossing machine, and I will be right back. So here's my embossing plate. Hopefully you can see it on camera. There you go. I think with the shadow of my hand you can see it better, but it's a beautiful damask design, and all you want to do, open your embossing plate up and then just randomly put your paper scraps on there, close it up, and I'm going to pass this through my embossing machine. And this is what we have left over. Really beautiful paper that now has a textured embossed effect on top. So I'm just going to trim the excess just a little bit off of there, and I'm going to place it wherever I think it'll best fit. So I think that looks good there. And you can instantly see that it adds a different texture, different color, and a different design. So I find that as long as you cover all those three bases, your little paper border strips will look beautiful. No matter what colors you use, no matter what style you're doing, you can create these for grungy projects. You can create these for bohemian projects. You can really do whatever you'd like. And I will definitely continue to share how I create them in different styles, and you will see that for my future journal collection. So that's a lot of fun too. Now I want to use a different color, which is this really pretty blue. So this one's going to be a little bit smaller. Let me cut a little bit of this off. Ooh, the back side of this paper is really pretty too. And that's the hard part I find, is choosing which papers to use, because you kind of want to use all of them. And it's really easy to get carried away with something like this. Most of us have a lot of scraps in our stash. And when you find a project where you can really use a lot of your scraps up, I find that we tend to get carried away and you don't know when or how to stop. For my last paper, I think I'm going to be using some of my wallpaper scraps. And I'm not going to be using the beautiful flower. I'm actually going to be using just the pink border. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I want to add some pink in here, but I don't want it to be too overpowering or get too carried away with the collaging. So I want to cut some small strips just like this. And I want to include them on the side of my papers just to give them a more decorative look and to introduce a different design. So I've just added the last piece of scrap paper to my paper borders. It was that really pretty wallpaper. And that is it to the collaging. So now what I like to do is I first like to take my base of my paper border, add my scraps, move them and collage them in different ways until you find the way that speaks to your heart the most and that you like the most. And once you have your finished collage, take your glue. I am using some Fabrifix because that is what I have on my desk right now, but you can use tacky glue, you can use a glue stick, you can use whatever you'd like. What I do is add just a little strip of glue on one side, the side that's going to be on the base of your paper border, and continue to do this to all of your scraps until you have them all glued onto the base. Once you have all of your scraps glued onto your base, you can then decide if you want to pass it through your sewing machine or whatever you'd like to do. I personally like the effect of the stitched line when you pass it through your sewing machine, but if you do not own a sewing machine, then obviously you can skip that step. So just continue to glue your little scraps onto your paper border until you have finished gluing all of them. So let me go ahead, glue the rest, pass it through my sewing machine, and I will be back to show you the finished result. Alrighty, my friends, I just finished gluing the scraps and I passed it through my sewing machine. They are so adorable, so cute, and then when you have a nice little collection of them in different sizes and in different colors, you get excited, you get happy, and you want to create more of them, and you want to create journals so that you can put them in. This is one of the journals that I'm currently working on. It's a TN size, so let me use this page for instance. If you stitch it on the side, or if you just take some more glue and pass it through the back, and then you just include it in the side, look at how gorgeous that looks. It gives you the effect of tabs, and it gives you the effect of having different papers on your page, when in reality, it's just a little strip that you've decorated. So it's kind of like you're cheating in a way, but this is so much fun. I think I'm obsessed with these little paper border strips. I mean, look at this one. Oh, this one is so cute. And then these little pieces. And this is why I love having some pieces that are offset, that are not on the middle, because then when you put them on the side of your journal, they stick out and it makes it look even more eclectic. Oh, this one is so pretty. The full length ones, oh my gosh. The full length ones are stunning. They just instantly bring your journal to life. And the best thing is that you can position them however you would like. Oh my gosh. I think I'm going to spend the rest of my afternoon creating a ton of these. I'm already thinking of some other ideas that I can show you with these paper border strips. So I'm so excited. Definitely stay tuned for a couple more tutorials as how you can expand upon this and add more detail and in different styles. So definitely stay tuned for that. I love them. That's all there is to say. I want more of them. And I think I found another crafty addiction, which is just what I needed, right? So that is it, my friends. That is the tutorial that I wanted to share with you guys today. Like I said, definitely make sure you try this out. If I received these little strips in an envelope in Happy Mail, I mean, wouldn't that be amazing for like paper lovers? Because you can use them. It's handmade ephemera that you can use in your personal journal or in the journals that you create. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you guys liked it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for giving me your time. So as always, I hope that you guys have an amazing day filled with peace and love and happy crafting. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.